welcome. So I just finished my first Skype interview, and I was excited to do it. I was thrilled to do it. Had a couple of problems. When I finished the interview, when I went to save what I had recorded, I could not find what I had saved. And Hexx the Klown, who I interviewed, helped me find what I saved. So I was able to retrieve the 25-minute interview, which you will see in its entirety in a few minutes. But something happened with the audio on my side. I picked up her audio perfectly, but my audio's not there. So I'm going to do some careful edits. You don't need my audio. I ask her questions, she answers the questions. You don't need it. But I do want to give you some background, because I gave some background before I introduced her, and I want to tell you who she is and how we met. So last week, by the way, this is the first week in, last week of August, first week September. It's Labor Day weekend. Last week was August 23rd through August 25th. And Bizarre Haunting Con was in town at the Lord Baltimore Hotel. And this young lady came down with her partner to present at the convention. And I met her there at the convention. Her name is Hexx the Klown. Hexx, H-E-X-X, the Klown, K-L-O-W-N. I'm going to put her link below. You can find her on Facebook. This is her card here. I met her at the convention. I thought she was fantastic. I wanted to interview her for a couple of reasons. I wanted to interview her for this vlog. This vlog concerns itself with magic and mentalism primarily, but it's also about people finding themselves, people being who they are and making a living or making their way in the world doing that. For me, mentalism has been a journey of self-discovery, and this young lady has much the same path in terms of finding out who she is and celebrating that. And that's what I wanted to bring to you, that celebration. I think it's so important for people to be the people that they were born to be. I think we succeed as entrepreneurs. We succeed in life. We're happier. And I was thrilled to meet her. And I'm thrilled to bring her to you. And I'm sorry that my part of the interview isn't there. I just can't. It's there. I just can't adjust the volume enough to get it to come across on film, so I apologize for that. But I didn't lose the important parts of the interview, and you're going to see them. I just wanted to give you some backstory. So this person plays a haunted clown character in a haunt up in New Hampshire. And she drove all the way down here to be with us at the Lord Baltimore Hotel last weekend. Her and her partner, they did a wonderful presentation. And by the way, the Bizarre Haunting Con is specifically targeted to bizarrist magicians. I don't consider myself a bizarrist. However, I do incorporate that into my show. And I love the storytelling component. I think that those kinds of presentations can support, in some respects they support the magic, in other respects magic supports them. I mean, you tell a good story, you create a good presentation, and the magic is the icing on the cake. And so last weekend we celebrated bizarre magic, we celebrated those kinds of presentations. I met a number of fantastic vendors and dealers. I met some great performers, and among those is Hexx the Klown. And again, I apologize that my contributions to this interview are not there because the audio didn't come through. However, you are going to get to meet Hexx the Klown, and I hope you enjoy her. Thank you so much. Enjoy the interview. I'll see you next time.
I mean, basically, like I said in the seminar, like, it takes a special kind of type of person to want to be a haunted house actor in the first place. And I feel like a lot of us, definitely myself included, as I said, we're like missing something from our daily life. We can't truly be who we really are and get away with it in our daily life. So I feel like a lot of haunt actors, we kind of utilize our characters as a way to really just be ourselves. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times in like the makeup room when we're all getting ready, you know, we've random girls or guys will randomly say like, "Oh, I feel so much better now," or like, "Oh, this is how I really feel." Like, and it's kind of just um, like an outlet so that you're scary, so it's obvious that you're scary, you know, like people aren't going to judge you and misinterpret you because you're right out there putting it out there as like, no, you're supposed to be scared of me, like you're supposed to be like offended by this, or like I'm shoving it right in your face, you know, I'm not hiding it anymore. And that is a huge thing for me. That's actually kind of why I did half the makeup for my clown character and then that other half just regular, like my regular makeup, is because like I feel like everybody has those two sides. The side we show the actual world, and then the side that we kind of hide away and only give to certain people. I've been a haunt actor for 15 years this season. Yeah, the last weekend of September is usually when my haunted house Fright Kingdom starts. This character that I have the makeup on for is not the character that you'd see there, but it's just honestly the easier makeup to do. Um, but in for like a regular season, basically you go through getting all your stuff prepared. So like the last weekend, like probably the last week in September, you get your costume ready, make sure everything's all in your bag and ready to go. You'd get all your makeup. Hopefully you remembered to order the makeup you didn't have before this last week. Otherwise you might be in trouble. But you get your costume and your makeup all ready. And then for usually we'll still do orientation, which is when like the new actors will get hired and we kind of fill out all our paperwork and do all that stuff. But in general, a regular season is, you know, you show up obviously before the once we open, you're in there, just, you know, waiting for a group to come through and scare them. Yeah, the last weekend of September is when a lot of haunted houses start. Some of them will start earlier, but ours starts the last weekend of September pretty much every year.
What is the name of your attraction?
Fright Kingdom. It's in Nashua, New Hampshire. It's on 12 Simon Street. Yeah, they've been my home for 15 years, and I'm pretty sure it'll probably be 15 more if I can.
Can you tell me a little bit about how you became a haunt actor?
Yeah, well, when I was younger, I mean, I spent most of my time being a weirdo. I grew up in like late 90s, early 2000s, and it was kind of like the thing to be as weird and offensive as possible because it wasn't done. So it was kind of like our outlet, like me and my friend's outlet was, you know, we were wearing the big baggy Jinko pants. We were wearing all the weird t-shirts that said like, I hate my life, you know. We were kind of just listening to music and just going through the motions. And at one point, I stumbled upon a group of comic books called Johnny the Homicidal Maniac, and it is exactly what it sounds like. But it was so ridiculous and so like violent and offensive that I kind of just fell in love with it because I'd never seen anything about it before or anything even remotely similar to it before. And it kind of gave me a little bit more of my style that I have. I used to shave my head a lot and do all sorts of weird makeup. I used to videotape me and my friends just going into public, like just going to the mall looking as offensive as we possibly could. Blood dripping down our faces, like that kind of thing, just to get a general reaction and really just kind of put it out there that like people are like this inwardly and outwardly, and it's not necessarily something that needs to be stopped or isn't good. It's actually, it should personally, in my opinion, be encouraged because it being able to be creative like that and push people's boundaries like that really kind of kept me out of trouble because I was focusing it into a specific outlet instead of just going around and shoplifting or doing stupid shit. But because I was basically doing all of that makeup and like finding those outlets and like being creative like that and kind of embracing the darker side of myself and other things, I got noticed by my boss at the haunted house. He basically just recruited me. He saw a picture of me as a clown and was like, "We need her." And my friends just called me and they're like, "Hey, how do you feel about being a haunted house actor?" And I was like, "Wait, like scare people for a living?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I was immediately on board because I was like, "Yeah, no, that's right up my alley. I definitely want to do that." So that's pretty much been it since. I never really looked back.
Does the season end immediately after Halloween?
It used to, but we have what's called haunt withdrawal, which is when, yeah, it's when Halloween happens and then it's over, and then the next weekend we're like, well, like, what do we do with ourselves now? Like, we have nothing to do. We can't just go out into the streets and randomly scare people because it's not October anymore. So my haunted house specifically, some of the other ones do it too, but my haunted house specifically does a um, like extra weekend, the first weekend of November. We also do a Christmas haunt involving Krampus and all sorts of creepy anti-Santa type things. And then we actually just started doing a Valentine's Day dinner date. So you get to go and do dinner and then get, scared, which, depending on what type of couple you are, is the perfect dinner date. Otherwise, people are usually like, that's terrible.
So how do you balance your responsibilities to your haunt and to your day job?
Because the haunts only open like in October on the weekends and like a couple other days than that, it's not that difficult to balance it. The one weird thing that is very kind of difficult for me in the beginning of each season is because I work in a beauty store, the form of makeup is very different. So, in beauty makeup, it's blending, blending, blending. When in doubt, blend more. With haunted house makeup, you want those hard edges and you want those unblended spots. So it takes me probably about a week to kind of rewire myself into hey, you don't have to blend that out. Like, don't blend that out. You don't want to blend that out. So that's probably one of the ways that it's a little bit difficult to balance them, but it's a temporary thing. It happens pretty quickly. But the only other thing that is somewhat of a difficulty is I would walk around looking like this rarely, but I would walk around looking like this all the time. So when I can't do that, and I actually, like, on my days off, obviously I could walk around like that or like this or like that if I wanted to, but I can't obviously wear this to work unless it's like Halloween, because nobody will talk to me. And from a customer service standpoint, this is very like, stay away from me. So I can't really I couldn't even wear, just if I had just the beauty makeup on and this one contact in, I still couldn't get away with that because it's still in this society. It's only appropriate in certain places.
But your preference would be to be in character all the time.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I'm sure I could, and I have friends that definitely do, but with the industry that I've chosen to work in as my day job and just general daily life, the reactions that you get can range anywhere from like just a dirty look in passing to actual threats of violence. So it's risky. And as a teenager, I think I had a little bit more guts to walk around every day than I do now.
Do you see a relationship between goth and the haunt subculture?
Oh, it's very related. It's I guess it depends on who you talk to. Some really hardcore goths definitely view it as kind of making a mockery of goth. But then you have the ones that are, I guess I'll say, not so uptight about it, and they understand that it's in kind of the same vein of celebration. And we have a lot of goth haunters. A lot of my friends in general would consider themselves being goth haunters. A lot of the furniture and like motif of different haunted houses can be from gothic culture. In general, just the kind of being on the darker side of life type attitude is very much the same.
What did you think of the Bizarre Haunting convention?
It was a lot smaller than what we had thought it would be because we're used to working things like Boston Comic Con and like New Jersey Horror Con and things like that. So we're used to those big warehouse cons and those like like PAX East and things like that. But it was actually really well done. I enjoyed each of the booths, and personally, I liked the interaction of it all. Like a lot of cons, yeah, you have your panels, but you don't really have like shows to see or like games or anything like that. Like there was so much interaction and so much stuff that you've just never seen before, and so much talent that it kind of just made the fact that it was very small not even noticeable because everybody was just kind of having fun and like watching the shows and like going to the panels, and even though it was small, it was extremely interactive, and I really liked that part about it.
I understand you're in a feature film. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's all over the internet, not the actual like information about it, but the title has been revealed on the internet. I'm pretty sure the most I can really say is that it's a Happy Madison production. But other than that, I have no real information of when it comes out or anything like that. But it's a Netflix film, so it's not going to be in theaters, which actually takes a little bit of anxiety away from me. But it will be all over Netflix, I'm sure, and I can't say much about what I did in it, but if they don't cut me out, then I am all over it.
What are your goals and dreams for the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years?
Um, so I would love to be continuing to do the cons as my clown character, Hexx. I would love to still be haunting. I would love to probably be doing a little bit more acting, just because I mean it's just so fun. Like even if I'm just an extra in some scene that's like I was in Ghostbusters, like the new one, which anybody that I've ever told that to is like that's not really something that you should tell people because the movie bombed. But it was a super fun experience. So I tell people all the time, I'm like, yeah, I was in that. You can't see me at all, but I was in it. But acting in general is just super fun. So that would be something I'd definitely like to do. And hopefully something that not a lot of people know about me in general, even if they're close to me, is that I'm a writer. And I have some screenplays going. I have a novel going, and I also work for a startup comic book company doing public domain twists. Right. I feel like self-publishing is kind of like the way you've got to go about it these days because so many people I know are such amazing writers, and publishers won't touch them because they just don't think that it's going to sell. And it's like, you guys don't, like, a lot of them don't realize that, the market for writing is changing greatly because we have Kindles, we have Nooks, we have fan fiction. Fan fiction was a thing that, for years that was pretty much almost illegal, and authors did not appreciate their fans writing like basically alternate endings or offshoots like spin-offs. They didn't like that because it was licensed stuff. But even that's changed in the past decade, where now fan fiction artists are even getting book deals and movies. People don't actually realize that the movie 50 Shades of Grey, which I personally have not seen and probably won't, but to whoever has seen it and loves it, awesome. But that movie is fan fiction based off another movie slash book. But so, yeah, so I mean, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that person would have been sued. They wouldn't have gotten a movie deal.
How many conventions do you have in the works?
Right now, I think we have 2 lined up. One we're working, one we're just going to.
And what about filmmaking opportunities?
It's more so in like Massachusetts, Boston area, but New Hampshire does have some good things going on for indie stuff. Personally, it's basically I'm just looking more at like just open casting calls in the Boston area because California and Georgia are changing. A lot of places have pulled out of those states and are coming to Boston because they, finally realized that we are capable too.
Any final thoughts, Hexx, as we wrap up?
Um, it's going to be weird because I don't think I've ever had this opportunity before, and I'm older than I ever thought I would be saying this. But to like the younger crowd, I guess, don't really. I can't say don't listen to people when they tell you to change or don't do something, because depending on what they're telling you, obviously you should listen. But when it comes to being who you are, just be who you are. Don't waste time trying to be something you're not. Don't waste time trying to, make other people happy if that's not who you are, because I can't even tell you how much time I wasted worrying about what other people thought. And it kept me from a lot of progress in my life and made me waste a lot of time. And even my own family told me I had to conform and I had to do this and I couldn't dye my hair and I had to do all this in order to be successful. And I mean, not to be vulgar, but I told them where to stick it. And I basically just did my own thing. And it took them 20 years to accept it, but they finally realized that I could make a living and be happy looking either way, and that I didn't actually need to conform or do any of the things that they were telling me that I needed to do. I could just be myself, and what it really does when you're yourself is it weeds out the people that aren't your people, and it brings you to the people that are your people. So just be you and do you, and don't worry about what other people think.